Hi. As usual, I have to remind myself to look at the lens instead of the screen. I'm Scott. Welcome to my channel, CineRam. If you've come over here from Jim Gisriel's channel, he does live streams, and oftentimes when I ask a Patreon question or whatever, he encourages people to come over to my channel. So if you've done that, thank you very much. Really appreciate it. A couple weeks ago, Jim Gisriel did a live stream in which he was asked a question about the 3X structure in film. And his response to that was, he didn't really feel it was a thing. It's an interesting way to think about and examine a film, but films aren't really written that way. I would like to refute that. Jim had a live stream just this last Wednesday. If you're curious, this was just like, well, the date on this video should be like at the very end of last Saturday in March. He's got a live stream tonight, and last week I promised him that I would make a video on this subject because I wrote him a whole bunch of stuff about the 3X structure, and he's just like, why don't you just make a video instead? I'm like, right, okay. I'm not in the habit of making videos often, I'm afraid, so here we are. So what I wrote, basically, here's the deal. The 3X structure is something that I learned about in screenwriting school. There is a school in Chicago specifically for screenwriters, and I was interested in doing that. And so I took a couple of courses and learned about it. And there's a book written about it and everything like that called Anatomy of a Screenplay. I forget the name of the author. But basically, the point of the 3X structure is to sort of streamline the storytelling process for a film that is objective driven. Now, if you're watching a film by Terrence Malick, that may not be an objective driven film. You know, there are films made like that. Jim was basically saying that that no film is written like that, and like I said, I want to refute that because I did study the 3X structure, and scripts are written that way, I feel. When I was in the class, basically we looked at some, classic films that everybody admires, like Casablanca, but I was also encouraged to look for the 3X structure in films I had seen recently or favorite films of mine. There's a lot. Back to the Future has a 3X structure. And when I took the class in 2001, Legally Blonde had just come out, and I noticed that had a very clear 3Act structure as well. So I wrote this whole thing right here, this whole message for Jim about why I thought, and I cited examples from Legally Blonde and everything like that, and it's just like, dude, just make a video. But let me sum up really briefly what the 3Act structure is like by using a very, very popular recent film called Avengers Endgame. Act 1. The heroes are super bummed about losing half the universe. Then Ant-Man arrives. Act 2. Heroes plan and execute time heist and return with Infinity Stones to bring back missing heroes. Act 3. Thanos crashes the party and they fight. The heroes win. So what this is basically is the 3Act structure establishes a main character or characters in the first act. And then bam, something happens and they have to take action. That is Act 2. Act 2 is them taking action. And Act 3 is the conclusion, whether it works out or not. Basically, a person, Act 1, does something, Act 2, and it either works out in the end or it doesn't. That's Act 3. So Act 1 basically is the establishment of the main characters and the world that they're occupying, what their lives are like. Jim was talking about Star Wars in his live stream and how that had like a 5-act structure because the first act was all like R2-D2 and C-3PO and Darth Vader, and Luke doesn't show up until they get to Tatooine in Act 2. And that's wrong. Act 1 doesn't end until Luke decides to go with Ben to Alderaan and study the ways of Force and help him rescue Princess Leia. All these things have been set up in Act 1. You see his life on the farm. Yes, he isn't introduced in the first few scenes, but that doesn't mean he's not the main character. And Act 1 ends when Luke takes up Ben's offer and says, okay, I'll go with you. And the reason why he does that is because something really bad happens. His aunt and uncle are killed by stormtroopers. The stormtroopers are looking for the droids that Ben is asking Luke to help him with. So first Luke is like, man, I don't like the Empire, but I got a lot of responsibilities here. I don't want to let my aunt and uncle down. I'll help you get a ship to get out of here, but I can't go with you. And then he goes home pretty much right after that and finds his aunt and uncle have been killed because the troopers had traced the droids to them. So he's just like, well, they're dead and there's nothing for me here now, so I'm going to go with you. And he's a little bit more decisive about that. But that's basically how it works. Act 1 ends when something happens that causes the main character to say, hey, I got to do something. Whether it be, run a race or catch a bad guy, or he meets, a person that he might fall in love with, and so the rest of the movie is them pursuing that. And there's other complications as well. The supporting characters all, have their own objectives to achieve in a well-written script. But that's basically how it goes. Like I said, I was using Legally Blonde as an example because, I'm used to sort of thinking about it that way since it came out around the time that I was in that school. And in the first act of Legally Blonde, the main character, played by Reese, is going to college. She's in a sorority. She's a fashion major. She's got a boyfriend. She's expecting him to propose to her. But guess what? That doesn't happen. Instead, he breaks up with her, saying that he'd rather be with someone smart and serious. He wants to marry a Jackie instead of a Marilyn. She's like, you're not marrying me because I'm too blonde? That's crazy. So she's all bummed about that. But then she goes, hey, I got an idea. He's going to Harvard Law School. If I go to Harvard Law School too, then he's going to take me seriously. He's going to want me back. It's a completely brilliant plan, right? So that is the end of Act 1 and the start of Act 2. Something happens to her. She isn't proposed to, she's broken up with, and so she decides to go to Harvard Law School to prove to her boyfriend, who's not worth the trouble in the end, that she can be smart and serious too. Just the kind of woman that he wants to be with. And so then she faces challenges. Now, Act 2 is her dealing with all the issues of having to go to Harvard Law School and excel at that, which she isn't really great at first. Plus, she finds out that her ex-boyfriend has met again with this girl that he knew when he was younger, played by Selma Blair, and now they're engaged. Suddenly they're engaged, and she's like, oh no, that's a big obstacle to overcome as well. So she's got these things that she's got to deal with. Now, there's a point in Act 2 when the objective either changes or the course to the objective narrows down to something very specific. In the case of Legally Blonde, it's the objective the objective itself doesn't actually change as far as graduating law school goes. But her reasons behind it do change. So in the beginning, she's just like, I want to get Warner back by going to law school. And then she says, when she realizes that Warner isn't going to want her no matter how hard she tries, she says, okay, I'm going to excel at becoming a law student and graduate and become a lawyer to prove worth to myself instead. So that's how the objective changes, basically. So now she's propelling herself towards proving her own self-worth, proving herself worthy to herself rather than to Warren instead, because she realizes that was just a big waste of time. You're never going to take me, I'm never going to be good enough for you. That's what she says at a certain point in the movie, even though she's been taking the same classes as him. So then the second act of Act 2 introduces a new complication with this trial that she starts to participate in. One of her professors is the defense attorney for Allie Larder. Allie Larder's been charged with murdering her husband. He's recruiting law students basically to do research, to work on his defense team. And so she's like, oh, I want to do that. And so she submits her name and she's accepted. And she's part of his legal team now. And she's trying to do the right thing, and she's trying to get things going and mount a good defense. But then she finds out that the professor actually just wanted her on the team because he finds her attractive and he wants to sleep with her. And she's just like, wow, what a bummer. Maybe I made a big mistake in coming here to Harvard Law School. Maybe I don't have what it takes to be a lawyer. Now, this is what they call, in my screenwriting class anyway, the lost point, when things are going really badly. And it looks like the main character or characters is not going to be able to achieve what it is they're trying to achieve. In Avengers, of course, we have the arrival of Thanos unexpectedly. Right after Hulk snaps with the ready-made gauntlet, then Thanos arrives, crashes the party, blows up the whole facility. Now they get to deal with him. So it looks like they might not be able to defeat him anyway. What happens in Legally Blonde is a couple of supporting characters played by Luke Wilson and Selma Blair, the fiance, or soon-to-be ex-fiance. They say to Allie Larder, look, we heard about this terrible thing that happened with Elle and the professor. You know, why don't you get her to be your defense attorney instead? I know it's very realistic legal fiction. So she goes to the professor, her lawyer, and says, "You're fired. Elle Woods is my new attorney. Reese is going to be my defense attorney now. So get out of here." And so Reese ends up acting as her defense attorney and uses her fashion know-how and her hair care smarts to trick Linda Cardellini into a witness stand confession. And this is what happens in Act 3, basically, the trial. The whole trial is devoted, that part of the story is devoted to that. And in the end, she wins the case. Allie Larder is exonerated, and then we jump to 3 years later when she's graduating Harvard. And Luke Wilson's now her boyfriend. Or maybe, I can't remember. It's been a while since I've seen the movie. Anyway, so there you have the 3-act structure. That's how it works. We establish a character, then there's something happens, they have an objective they need to achieve. The second act is about trying to achieve that objective. And then the third act, everything sort of comes to a head, and then we find out in the end what actually happens. Is it accomplished or not? Does the main character or main characters prevail in the end? So take Endgame, take Back to the Future, take Legally Blonde, take any number of different mainstream movies that are objective-driven, and you will probably find that 3-act structure there if you know what to look for. And so I just wanted to talk about that. Jim was talking about, like I said, he says films aren't really written that way, and I wanted to say, actually, some of them are. Not all of them, of course, but that doesn't mean that none of them are. Plenty of them are written that way, or at least they try to write them that way. There's also a lot of other things. Like I said, all the other characters, most of the other major supporting characters have their own objectives to achieve one way or the other. At least they do in a good script. And then you have what they call window characters, which is a supporting character serves as sort of a sounding board for the main character, and of course that supporting character also has their own window character, which would be the same person. If you have romantic comedies, basically, in which two people might get together, they are each other's objectives, and they are also each other's antagonists, in a way, if there's resistance there. And there also can be each other's window characters as well as the friends of each of the main characters. If you look at When Harry Met Sally, you've got the main characters played by Billy Crystal and Meg Ryan, and then you've got the supporting characters that are doing their own thing, but they're also sounding boards for each of the main characters. That's the Carrie Fisher and Bruno Kirby characters. And that's essentially what it is. If you, by chance, don't know Jim Gisriel, and I've talked about him a couple times, but if you aren't one of the people that have come over here to my channel from his channel, I'll leave a link to his channel in the description below so you can check out his live stream, which is happening tonight, hopefully. Thank you very much for watching. Again, if you've come over here from Jim's channel, if you've subscribed to me recently, sorry I haven't made new videos, but thank you very much. I hope you enjoy what I do here. And I'll talk to you again real soon. Later.